The ultimate guide to playing Pleiades on a budget. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm back with another budget Flesh and Blood deck tech video. And today I'm going to be talking about, if you're just wanting to get into Pleiades or you're just getting into Flesh and Blood and Pleiades looks nice, a very powerful and really competitive Silver Age list. It's a little more expensive than the ones that I've been talking about previously, but trust me when I say it is good. But if you want to get into Classic Constructed, or you just want to know what you want to transition to after you play so much Silver Age Pleiades, then you can check out the Classic Constructed Pleiades budget list that I will be putting up as well. So, to kick things off, let's talk about the Silver Age Pleiades and Pleiades herself. Pleiades here is a 4-elect, 20-life, revered guardian hero. And at instant speed, you can tap, remove a suspense counter from an aura you control, and then put a suspense counter on an aura of suspense you control. You don't technically have to, but you can. And that is really valuable in some senses, but the fact that you can just remove a suspense counter from one of your auras once a turn, that in and of itself is really good for you. And whenever the crowd cheers you, you create a confidence token, which is also really good. These confidence tokens pop at the start of your turn and give your next attack the inability to be blocked by more than 2 non-block cards. That includes equipment. Not just cards from hand or arsenal, but also equipment, which is really good. So a little bit of, not defense. I was about to say defense. A little bit of evasion, a little bit of counter manipulation, and Pleiades here is one of the best decks that you can play in Silver Age, at least out of Super Slam. In my opinion, I don't know. Pleiades realistically isn't going to be the best deck in all of Silver Age, but, Pleiades is not a bad deck by any means. So getting into the weapon and the equipment, let's talk about Titan's Fist, a 3-powered, 3-cost attack, one-handed weapon that says when there's a card with 3 or more pitch value in your pitch zone, cost of 3 or more in your pitch zone, it gets +1 power. So it could be a 3-cost 4 attack, 1 card 4. That ain't bad by any means. So Titan's Fist, it can be a decent attack, but that's not really what we're worried about. I mean, if you need to attack with a Titan's Fist, it can be a good way to attack. But what we care about is the equipment, because there is some really good equipment. So, instead of having a 2-handed weapon, we got a Steel Braid Buckler on top of that Titan's Fist, a 2-block temper, basically shield. So, you can block with it for 2, and for 1, that ain't bad. And beyond that, we got some other really cool cards, like Helm of the Adored, 1-block Blade Break that when it defends, the crowd cheers you. So we like confidence tokens. We want confidence tokens. We want confidence tokens when we are doing the big old stupid thing that is going to allow us to either put our opponents right on death's door or just outright kill them. So having the ability to create that confidence token basically at free will and gain a little bit of extra block value ain't bad by any means. Besides that, we also have Gauntlet of Boulder Hold, a 1-block battle-worn arm piece that, as an action, spends 3, destroy it, give your next Guardian attack action +2 power. So that's really good. A little bit of a bigger buff. The deck doesn't exactly need it, but hey, there's more of it if you need it. And then I got Crater Hoof, a 1-block battle-worn leg piece that, as an action, you can pay 3, destroy it. Give your next Guardian attack action you play from Arsenal, dominate. So a little bit of more evasion. And that's pretty sweet. So the deck, you can already kind of tell, it's pretty resource intensive. So if you need a couple extra resources, we also got Garland of Spring, an action that can pop, get you a resource. Doesn't block for anything, which can stink, but what we care about here is the fact that it can get us a resource. And that, simply put, is kind of all you need. Because, we can get a block from the Crater Hoof, a block from that, a block from that. So that's 3 block. And then basically 3 more block. We can get like 6 block value out of our equipment, which is pretty good. That basically puts us at like 26 life, so that's awesome. But getting to the deck itself, it's basically a two-step game plan. Play things of suspense, and once you get the value out of them, you play big old dumb thing and smash the opponent's face. So let's talk about all of the setting up, all of the auras of suspense that you're going to want to play to really get the most value and the most power you possibly can out of your stuff. So Edge of their Seats is the basically best aura suspense that we have access to in this deck, as far as like a budget piece of suspense aura goes. So this costs 3 resources. It is a Guardian instant aura of suspense. So it enters with 2 suspense counters, and at the start of your turn, you remove a suspense counter. When it has none, you destroy it. And when it leaves the arena, your next attack gets +5 power, and it blocks for 3. So it can block for 3, worst case scenario, or you can pitch a blue, and then eventually, you know, get a +5 buff on your next attack. That is really dumb. And it says your next attack. So, if you don't really have anything that you can play, any of your big old attacks, the weapon can count too. So that's pretty nice, and that's the reason why Titan's Fist can still get you some pretty good value in the deck, because it can come in for 8 damage off the edge of their seats. That ain't bad. So, but besides the edge of their seats, I also got a yellow edge of their seat, which is the same thing, but it gives a +4 buff and it pitches for 2. And I got a blue edge of their seats, and it's the same thing, but it pitches for 3, and it gives a +3 buff. But besides edge of their seats, there's plenty of other aura suspense. We got Tension in the Air. This card is a 2-cost Guardian instant aura of suspense, and when it leaves the arena, it gives your next attack +4 power. So it's very similar to Edge of Their Seats, but it costs 1 less, but it gives 1 less of a power buff. So it's still pretty good. I also have the blue version, which is the same thing, but it gives a +2 buff, but it pitches for 3 instead of 1. So that's nice. And it also blocks for 3, just like Edge of Their Seats. So that's pretty sweet too. And then besides that, there actually isn't really any other aura suspense. It's just a lot of blue ones. We do technically have Pummel as another way to buff. This is a 2-cost generic attack reaction that can either give a club or hammer weapon attack +4 power, which Titan's Fist, it's a hammer. If you need to, get a little bit of an extra bump, it is a hammer. So that's pretty nice. But on top of that, it can also, more importantly, give target attack action with a cost of 2 or more. Every attack in the deck, hint hint, give it +4 power. And when it hits, if it hits, but more than likely when it hits, the defending hero discards a card. So it gives a +4 buff and makes it way easier to hit, and it can get another card out of the opponent's hand. Or it can just get more cards out of the opponent's hand. So either way, your opponent is going to have to block more or lose more cards, or there's no downsides to this card. This card's insane. It blocks for 2. Shucks. But besides that, there is nothing bad about this card, because it is so good offensively. But then as far as other aura suspense go, we got a couple of them. We got Superstar, one of the more important ones. I would say probably the most important one as far as like non-buffing aura suspense go. It is a 3-pitch, 3-block, 1-cost aura of suspense. And when it enters or leaves the arena, the crowd cheers you. So it can get you confidence tokens. It can make your attacks more evasive. That's awesome. So we're seeing a lot of things where we want to remove auras or counters from our auras. But are there any things that we want to put those removed counters onto? Yes, there is. We got the Suspense is Killing Me! A 3-pitch, 2-block, 0-cost Guardian instant aura of suspense, and it gives your first attack each turn +1 power. So we want to keep this thing around for as long as possible, because we can make something like a Boulder Drop, a 3 for 8, a Choke Slam, a 4 for 9, a Comeback Hit, a 3 for 8. It can just make a Command Respect, a 3 for 7, Concuss, a 3 for 7. I mean, there's like nothing bad about these cards. Like, there's nothing bad about this card. It's a blue. It doesn't block for 3, sure. But it can give yourself a little bit of a bump. And it can stick around for a very long time because we can just remove the counters from our superstars, the things that we want to get rid of, smack them right onto the Suspense is Killing Me, or another one of our auras we want to keep around for a long time. What happens next? And basically same thing, but instead of giving your first attack each turn +1 power, the first card with a cost of 1 or more you play each turn, just so you know, costs 1 less to play. So this works both on your turn and your opponent's turn. So what you can do here is you could play something like a Choke Slam that costs 4 for 3 resources. That's awesome. We love that, because we don't like pitching a ton of cards. Now, granted, if we have 2 blues in our hand, we play a Choke Slam, and we have a Pummel, that works out great. But if we just want to send in Choke Slam, we got 1 blue, it's like, I don't really want to pop the Garland, you can, have something like a What Happens Next, and make Choke Slam cost 3. But on our opponent's turn, for example, if we really want to play an Edge of Their Seats and a Superstar, so we can get the Confidence Token and have a really good way to buff our thing to the moon without having to pitch 2 cards, well, we can play that Edge of Their Seats for 1 less, thanks to what happens next, have 1 resource left floating, and boom, Superstar. I mean, come on. What happens next? Ain't nothing bad about it. But besides that, we also got the attacks. We got cards like Boulder Drop, a 3 for 7. If it deals 4 or more damage, if it crushes, you put a card from their hand on the top of their deck. I mean, they get to choose, but still, you basically make them discard a card. That's awesome. Choke Slam, it's a 4 for 8. It also has Crush. Its Crush effect is attack action cards they control can't gain power during their next action phase. Hint, hint, wink, wink. In Silver Age, it's a pretty good thing to make your attacks bigger so that the game can go by quicker, so that you can just make this big old thing and end the game in a 1 big old KOing smash. And Choke Slam here says, no, 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 you can't do that. So that's pretty sweet. And then Comeback Kid, 3 for 7. If you have less life than the attacking or the defending hero when it attacks, the crowd cheers you. If you've been cheered this turn, it gets +1 power. So off of something like Suspense is Killing Me, this is potentially a 3 for 9? What? That's not broken, busted at all. Totally. So yeah, Comeback Kid's pretty good. Command Respect, 3 for 6. If it hits, if it had power greater than space, you destroy a card in their arsenal. Concuss, same thing, but they discard a card. Just interaction, interaction, interaction. Make the opponent hate themselves and life and everything. Thump, 4 for 6 if it has power greater than space. Guess Dominate, when it hits a hero, they discard a card. It's kind of like a slightly worse but better-ish Concuss because it can be evasive. I mean, like, what's bad about these cards? What's bad about these cards? And there's also a ton of blues. We got the blue Boulder Drop, same thing, but it comes in for 5 and it pitches for 3. Choke Slam, same thing, but it has less power. And, Comeback Kid, same thing. Thump, same thing. But the only other difference is we have Uplifting Performance. 3 pitch, 3 block, 3 cost, 5 a powered attack. This is if you control Confidence or a Toughness token, it gets +1 power. So a 3 for 6, that ain't horrible. And if it hits, create a Confidence and a Toughness token. The Toughness token doesn't matter as much because at start of your opponent's turn it pops. And then your next thing that you would defend with, next action you would defend with, gets +1 defense. That could be useful, but more importantly, it can make you a Confidence token. Or it could just be a 3 pitch 3 block. That ain't too bad either. So yeah, Uplifting Performance ain't bad. But then, into the inventory, I got Arcane Lantern, Null Rune Gloves, Null Rune Hood, just some good ways to get some Arcane Barrier, because that wants to defend, that wants to defend. What's the other thing? Null Rune Gloves. That wants to defend. And it's not nearly as good as something like a Crater Huff. Now, this thing we want to keep no matter what. We love Garland of Spring. So yeah, just switch those 3 cards out as needed with some Null Rune, Arcane Barriering cards. Besides that, we also got Crush the Weak, which is just a really good way to turn off the aggressive decks. It's a 3 for 7 Crush. It's Crush effect. They can't play attack actions with 3 or less base during the next action phase. I mean, in some decks, that can just completely turn off their next turn. And I think we like that, question mark? I think we like it when our opponents don't get to do anything. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, besides that, we also got To Be Continued, which is very similar to their Suspense is Killing Me, What Happens Next Brothers. But instead of, you know, their other effects, it says the first time you be dealt damage each turn, you prevent one of that damage. It's basically another way to prevent a little bit of arcane damage dealing abilityness. And also it's just a good way in like a deck where you kind of need to prevent more damage. You kind of need to go a little bit longer. You just like, I need a couple more ways to soak up some damage. That can be a good way to soak up some damage. Like an Arcane Polarity. A 0-cost generic instant can gain you life if you've been dealt arcane damage this turn. You gain 4 instead. Ain't a bad card. But yeah, this deck, pretty simple. I mean, you got some ways to deal with arcane damage dealing decks, some aggressive decks in the inventory, but for the most part, you're playing things, make your things bigger, you play a thing, it gets bigger off of the things you other played before or whatever, you play a 3 for 20. So, I mean, like, we love it. We love it. But if you want to upgrade from the Silver Age list into a Classic Constructed list, or you just want to play a Classic Constructed version of Pleiades on a budget, check this list out. Can this thing get good? And then this is the budget Pleiades Classic Constructed list. So it's pretty similar to the Silver Age version. Its game plan is pretty much identical. You play things of suspense to make your other things a lot bigger than they otherwise would have been. You make something like a Fault Line, which, you know, puts all cards from their arsenal on the bottom of their deck. It could, if it's played from arsenal, get +1 power, 3 for 8. I mean, who doesn't love that? But so with something like an Act for Glory, 4 cost, when it leaves the arena, gets +6 power. It's suspensing, aura-ness, I don't know. So, I mean, 6 damage plus 8 damage. That's a lot of damage. It's like 14 damage. You add in something like a Pummel. That's a lot of damage. It's like a stupid amount of damage. You add in, you know, some other really good, you know, cards that you don't have access to in Silver Age. Such as in the palm of your hands, when it enters release, you draw a card. That's awesome. That's insane. We love that. Thespian Charm can make the crowd cheer you. That's sweet. Return an aura permanent you control to the owner's hand. You really want to, you know, get something like an Act of Glory to pop off and get you the thing that you want, but it still has more auras, or it still has more suspense counters on it. Thespian Charm. Boom, bounce it back to the end, because when it leaves the arena, not when it's put into a graveyard, when it leaves the arena. So that's awesome. Or, you know, you just want to get some extra value out of something like in the palm of your hands. That works too. So we have some red attacks. There's a lot more blue attacks in this deck than red attacks. So take that for what you will. But there's a ton of blues in this deck. And some of them are a little bit more defensive than others. But so we still have, well, we have Cranial Crushes that is also really good. Because, you know, it can make your opponent unable to draw cards during their next action phase. Which, I've heard drawing cards is pretty popular. And people like to do that. So making them not able to do that can be really sweet, especially against something like a Brute, where everything says draw a card, discard a card at random, basically. I think that would be pretty good against Brutes. Or it's just a 3-page 3-block. That works too. That works too. Macho Grande, you know, that's a pretty good card. It's a big old dominating beater, or it's a 3-page 3-block. We got Standing Ovation. I mean, this card's sweet. 6 cost, 8 powered attacker that blocks for 3, pitches for 3. If you have 3 more auras of suspense, leave the arena this turn. Gets one and hits a hero. You take an extra turn after this one. And at the beginning of their next end phase, they draw up to their intellect. So mostly it's just a way to help you set up more. But still, Standing Ovation can be a really good card when you need it to be. We still got, you know, some of the other superstars, Suspense is Killing Me, What Happens Next cards. We still have Uplifting Performance. But on top of that, we got access to a couple other cards, some super rares. Like Up on a Pedestal can get you back a Revered or Guardian attack action. That's awesome to get you some extra usages out of Comeback Kids and Fault Lines. And who knows? Maybe you really want to play another Standing Ovation. Get a second Standing Ovation. That can work too. Turning Point is a 3+5 block. That's a blue. That has the crowd cheer you, so you get a confidence token. I mean, I think that's good. Like, this card's kind of insane. Sure, the opponent has to have less life than you in order for it to really go and work the way you want it to, but still. I mean, it pitches for 3, it blocks for 5, usually, almost always. It gets you a confidence token. Like, this card's nuts. It's awesome. So, the main deck itself is pretty much the same as before. You want to play Word of Suspense. They enter with 2 suspense counters. One, at the start of your turn, suspense counter leaves. There's none. It leaves the arena, and you get cool effect. You want to get those off as quickly as possible, or sometimes you want to have them stick around for a little longer. Something like a Suspense is Killing Me, or not that, or a What Happens Next. You want to keep those around for longer, but something more like a edge of your seats. You want that to go away as quickly as possible. So you want to manipulate your auras with Pleiades. You want to play big old beaters like Comeback Kid. That's pretty much the deck. It's pretty simple. You play some setup-y cards, and you come in for big old damage. But then, the weapon and the equipment, you got that too. You got Moment Makers, which 3 pitch, 4 attack. If you control 3 or more auras suspense, it also gets +2 more power. And when it hits, the crowd cheers you. That can be awesome. 1 card 6 with an on hit in your weapon zone. That's awesome. That's pretty awesome. And you got, all of the pieces of equipment. Instant speed, the tiara can destroy itself. It also has Guardwell for 2, so that's awesome. It can put a suspense counter on one of your auras of suspense if you need that. That could be sweet. Virtuoso Bodice, if you need, to get a couple extra resources to play some of your auras of suspense on your opponent's turn. Boom. 2 block. Blade Break. 1 defense. Can remove a suspense counter from one of your auras. Gain 2 resources. That's awesome. You got kind of a similar thing with the Attention Grabbers, except it blocks your 1 Blade Break. But if you do that, the thing that I just said before with the Virtuoso, so they gain 2 resources, you get +2 power, or +2 defense on this. So it blocks for 3. That's awesome. You got Boots to the boards. 2 block temper, mostly. But when it defends, you can pay up to 3 and create that many toughness. We don't really care about that. What we care about is it blocks for 2 temper. So that's sweet. But so the deck, pretty much the same. Defend, play some, set-up-y cards, and then come in for a big ol' smash. That's the deck. Pretty simple. And, in the inventory, if you need a couple extra cards, we got them. We got the No Room Boots, the gloves, the robe. We like the headpiece. The headpiece is cool. Yeah. Mostly just the reason that we have this in the deck still is because, getting some extra counters on your stuff can be really good, and you kind of need to block with these in order to get value out of them, which you can't really in other matchups where it's like arcane damage. So there's a reason that, you can take that for what you will. But then there's to be continued. If you need a couple extra ways to prevent some arcane damage, there's that there too. Chokeslam is a good way to, when you're playing against a deck that also wants to buff their stuff to the moon, this can kind of say no, no, no. Disenchantment of the Old Ones. If you need a way to destroy all your opponent's little pesky little tiny auras, you're playing against another Pleiades, this card's great. You're playing against a deck that makes a ton of rune chance, such as, Florian. This card can be decent. Plus, it's a 6 for 10. I've heard that's good. So there's that. On top of that, Sink Blows, you need a couple of little extra pieces of defense outside of the insane turning point. Boom, Sink Blow, there you go. If you need some ways to turn off your opponent's stuff, like a Spinal Crush, 5 cost 9, when it crushes. Action cards, activate abilities, attacks they control. They lose all of their abilities and ways to get go again. That's awesome. When you're playing against a go-wide deck, this card is a little bit broken. So yeah, this deck, it just has a ton of stuff going for it in the inventory. And in the main deck, it's good, dumb fun. So yeah, this deck, if you want to play Pleiades on a budget, whether it's with the Silver Age or CC version, they're the list for you. I hope you enjoy it. I know that I enjoy Pleiades a lot. I think Pleiades is super cool and fun. With all that aside, I hope that you've all enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free your own credits. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. And see you next time.